Good evening, everyone. My name is Ursula DeBerry. My sign name looks like this. I'm from the Governor's Office of the Deaf and Hard of Hearing. I am the director. I do have team members here with me tonight. There's Tanea Brown. She is the outreach interpreter manager. She's doing the background, helping with the recording and the PowerPoint for this program. Diamond is here as well. She's the administrative assistant. Last name is Halliburton. She is here to support as well. And I will share with you surveys, evaluation forms, and also we'll share the screen to show the video. Okay. Before we proceed, let me back up just a moment to explain the Zoom platform, how we will proceed, and to be able to have a supportive and successful conversation with the interpreters for signers and individuals who voice and need the interpreter as well. So if they come up on screen, whoever's voicing the interpreter will be able to sign for them. They joined earlier to give a little bit of background. I will ask you to be patient as we proceed through this. Make sure that your name is displayed clearly and the real name. And how you do that is over your picture with your mouse. Up on the corner right, you see 3 dots on your screen, on your picture. And then the bottom choice says rename, and you can change your name. And then you can test the camera on, camera off if you want to come camera on and get clarification, ask questions, make comments, ask questions about our topic tonight. If you could hold those until the end. Make sure you do mute yourself, and this program will be recorded, and to reduce the background noise. Using the camera appropriately as you enter this meeting. And recording means to be professional and ready to speak during this meeting. And the people in the background doing different things, especially if you're on camera. Use of chat, please be respectful and stay on topic, please. If you have any questions that are repeated and aren't answered, please keep it to once, and then we can answer those questions. If you raise your hand, if you're not sure, you can hover and see on more or react. It has the reactions, and then you can click a button that says raise hand. Be mindful of your lighting and your background. Every time you come up to sign, please state your name, description, and then proceed with your comment just one time. You can click closed captions through Zoom. While the interpreter is voicing, the captions will come up on the screen. If you're not sure, click more. There's those 3 dots. You'll see different options, and you can click on the captions option. Keep side conversations minimal. I do want to thank everyone for joining us tonight. This program will start with our U.S. State Senator, Holland. We'll be showing a video to kick off this meeting. If you want to reduce the people on the screen, so you can click hide non-participant videos, and that will hide their videos, and you'll be able to see the video bigger. And then also we'll see the interpreter voicing. So can ask, for people who sign, can ask clarification. Are we ready to get started? The interpreter is going to stay on with the video while we show Senator Holland now. I think we are ready for that video. Enjoy the program.
Hi, I'm Chris Van Hollen, and I'm proud to represent you and the great state of Maryland in the United States Senate. Thank you to the Maryland Governor's Office of the Deaf and Hard of Hearing for bringing everyone together for this important conversation through the Disabilities in Democracy Initiative. At its core, our democracy is about participation, the idea that every person has a voice, that every person matters, and that government should work for all people, not just the powerful few. Authoritarianism and fascism move us in the opposite direction. They concentrate power, silence dissent, undermine independent institutions, and push out marginalized voices. That's why it's so important to defend not only our democratic institutions, but also the rights, dignity, and inclusion of every member of our communities. Right now, many deaf-blind, and hard of hearing federal workers are facing real uncertainty, from attacks on the federal workforce to threats to reasonable accommodations and workplace protections that help ensure equal opportunity. I've been fighting back against these efforts with legislation like the Protect America's Workforce Act to restore collective bargaining rights and workplace protections for federal workers. Because our federal workforce should reflect the diversity, talent, and strength of America itself. Federal employees are public servants who dedicate their careers to serving others, and workers with disabilities are an essential part of that mission. Protecting their rights and ensuring equal access is not separate from defending democracy against fascism. In fact, it's a crucial part of it. Thank you again for your advocacy, for your leadership, and your commitment to building a country where everyone can participate fully and equally in civic life. And I'm sure you will have a meaningful discussion at tonight's roundtable. I'm proud to be your partner in this mission.
Can everybody see me? Wonderful. Okay. I do want to make sure that if you just joined, please make sure that you are muted. And this will become a spotlight. So please use your speaker view. Okay. So we'll go ahead and get started with the PowerPoint. Thank you. Now, thank you. Now, the first presenter, if you could please turn on your camera. Thank you. I will turn off my camera. Okay. We're going to go ahead to the next slide, the first page. Wonderful. Hello. My name is Michelle Warren, and I do want to thank Ursula and the committee, the staff members, to support our organization. We have been working for almost a year on this now, and we've been focused on better understanding the difference between fascism and democracy. My sign for fascism is this. My sign for democracy is this. Okay, I do want to introduce myself. When I was young, about 18 to 24, I suppose, I didn't fully understand what the government system did, how it worked. I just got information. My parents told me things, said I need to register to vote, and, explained it at school, teaching history and American history and the governmental system, the president, vice president, Congress, Senate, senators. And it was very basic. When I went to RIT, I was required to take a class uh, world history. I was required to read George Orwell, 1984, world literature, I'm sorry, and it's Animal Farm, etc. He wrote many books, but it was about totalitarianism. And I read that. I didn't understand it. I read through the book. It was really hard to understand why I was reading it. But fascism and democracy, well, I would say fascism is not just what's happening now in our governmental system. I don't see fascism here now. It's not what's happening now. I see democracy. So I was going through learning more, reading, watching the news, talking about it, talking with friends and family. And it was a very slow process where I would pick things up. And then we're now. Oh, what happened? Oops, sorry. So I was not taking this lightly. It was not very serious. I took living for granted, freedom for granted. I grew up here, land of the free, free country. I was able to vote. I had my voice. I had all of these things. Like, I took it for granted, like other countries. There was one person that would lead a very autocrat, like Russia and China, just having one leader. And people wanted to have their voice heard and wasn't able to. If they spoke up, they were put in jail. And I didn't understand it fully until now, looking around. It seems really true. Like things are coming true. And I started to really pay attention what fascism is. What's the difference between fascism and democracy? And now, if we could go to slide 2, please. And now I do want everyone to understand what the difference is between democracy, that's the blue, and it's the power of the people. Citizens are able to vote. They can choose who to vote for, who they think is the best leader, and they can have open discussions. They can have different policy discussions. They have freedom of speech, rights of the press, free newspaper. They can ask questions and they can give voice to thoughts and questions. And, your own time, your own free will to worship, that's all, freedom of religion. It can't be mixed with the government. It has to stay separate. And then the laws apply to everyone because Congress and Senate, they wrote the laws, they proposed the laws, amendments, and they became law. Different acts become.
So with fascism, obviously, that is one person, an autocracy, meaning that it is led by one person and they make decisions on their own. They do not allow the voices of the people. So if you want to read this slide, now democracy focuses on the groups of people. Citizens have no influence in fascism, no freedom, no ability to voice their opinions. And there is a lot of oppression and silencing of voices that takes place. TV and media become censored. There is no freedom of the press. These rights are taken away. Things become very hush hush. And those who are loyal to the leader are allowed to see them. For example, with Hitler, Mussolini, Putin, the Russian autocrat. And life, people feel stressed, silenced, critical of the government, need to obey and submit, and live in fear. Whereas in democracy, it is the opposite. You look at the lives of people and they can vote, they can speak their minds, speak freely, have discourse, disagreements with leaders, friends, family. It is a working group of people. Now, there must be civilized discourse, of course, and that makes life less feared. And now I'm going to turn it over to Kevin McLeod to talk about the third and fourth slides. Thank you all so much for your time with me today. Thank you. Hello, hello, everyone. Okay, talking about the Bill of Rights and democracy. We're going to talk about the 10 amendments to the Bill of Rights. The first is freedom of religion, speech, press, assembly, and petition. All five of those elements include the the freedom to do so, and they're very critical because they determine and define who decides. Do you decide, or does someone else decide for you? With these rights, you are able to decide for yourself. For example, the freedom of the press. And we've seen problems with that now. Not in the past, not in the future, but we're seeing problems with this currently. For example, the Washington Post recently had a reporter. Someone had gone in to the house looking for notes and documentation because many people in the federal government were leaking information as to what is taking place there. And the government did not like that. So they sent an investigator to this reporter's house to get all of their documentation, their phones, laptops, notes, everything, in order to investigate them. That free chills is chilling to the freedom of speech and the freedom of the press, specifically investigating this reporter, people who are curious about what is going on within the government. Before, it used to be very transparent, and now everything is closed doors. Times have been changing. Freedom of speech, we should have the freedom to say the president is an idiot. And that is a right of within the Constitution. And that is a right that is being threatened today. For example, covert talk about the government spoke out, Colbert, and spoke out against the government, and he lost his show as a result because of suppression. They pressured CBS into canceling the segment. There was a lot of money involved. And they've come up with excuses saying it was due to financial reasons. Yes, it was financial reasons because there were other reasons behind that. Also, it has this chilling effect. It's not just impactful to Colbert himself, it impacts many other people who run that show, the production, who were speaking out when the government tried to silence them. And it's chilling, has this rippling, chilling impact. So the freedom of assembly, to be able to meet with your friends and people and able to defend yourself. This is, a few months ago, Minnesota had a very large problem with the freedom of assembly because ICE was going in and breaking up assemblies and interrupting people trying to organize in order to defend themselves. The right to petition, the right to protest. And if you look at the right to protest, you've seen that threatened. You've seen it in LA. The military occupied and shot protesters, even though they were peaceful. They were quiet, they were loud. Um, However, it was a peaceful demonstration. They were not hurting anyone, they were not being aggressive or violent, but the government shot these protesters. Maybe you see the price of, it was maybe not an actual bullet, it was a rubber bullet, but still, it was unnecessary. It was a peaceful protest protecting their own rights. Second Amendment, you have the right to bear arms. And we know there's a lot of controversy of that, but you do have that right, and that is still maintained. The protection from forced quartering of soldiers. That doesn't apply to nowadays, but back during the Revolutionary War, England said America needed to pay, the colonies needed to pay more taxes, and so they sent soldiers to force quarter with the colonists in order to impose those taxes. And so they had to accept these soldiers into their own homes. That was a very large part of this American Revolution as to why we had that. We don't have this unique problem nowadays. However, it was very relevant, and do keep an eye out. The Fourth Amendment, protection from unreasonable search and seizures. It requires a warrant. A warrant must be administered from a judge. And in Minnesota, we saw that they were going into people's homes and search and seizing people and things. They had what they called administrative warrant. However, that is not the type of warrant needed to go into one's home. You need a court-ordered warrant, and ICE did not have that. So that was a very big issue in Minnesota. They violated the Fourth Amendment. The Fifth Bill of Rights, the due process of law, immigrants and deportation of immigrants to other countries without due process, just taking individuals and deporting them. That is illegal here in America. They are entitled to due process to make the legal court-appointed decision to deport them or allow them to stay. But they have a right to a legal process. They have the right to go to court. And this government does not want to do that. They're not supportive of this amendment. So it's another thing that we're seeing. The rights are being violated. The Sixth Amendment, right to a fair and speedy trial, an impartial jury, and legal counsel. And all of that ties back into due process. It's the same concept of, you have those rights, and people are not getting access to those rights. They're being denied access to legal counsel, to a trial. This is happening today with immigrants. Even though it may not impact you personally or directly at this time, it is still an issue. It will impact you at some point. Protection from excessive bail, excessive fines, or cruel and unusual punishment. This is unacceptable. We've seen violations of this amendment from time to time here in America. This is not new, but it's wrong. It is not okay. This is not what our founding fathers planned for our country. This is an abuse of your rights. People have the rights beyond those specifically listed in the Constitution. So it is not just what is listed. You do have the ability for self-determination, not the government. So And number 10 makes it very clear powers are not given to the federal government. It belongs to the states or the people. Next slide. So this is talking about how fascism, this is how I cite fascism, weakens constitutional rights. So you see there's two columns. You see where there is a democracy, the freedom of speech, people can criticize those in leadership and in government. Like I said, you're allowed to say the president is an idiot without any ramifications or punishment. And that is the way it should be. We know that's not how things are nowadays. And that's another example that we have a problem with. So fascist governments may, criticizing the government may lead to censorship, intimidation, arrest, or punishment. And we see that happening on a daily basis. In a democracy or in a fascist state, or I wonder, can you tell where we are now with freedom of speech? The freedom of the press is to expose corruption and show the truth to the people, and that is a priority. We must have freedom of the press because if people are corrupt, if they're cheating, or, for example, Trump, the $1.776 billion paid to himself as a part of the government because he's running the government. He said that he could order the government to pay himself, and he did. And that is theft. And so, freedom of the press reported that, and they're within their rights to do so. Now, the Republican Party is very angry because they didn't want to join in on that either. So, it's a very complicated issue for the whole country. Data is often controlled by large corporations, and the government can pressure those corporations and abuse their rights in different ways. They can pressure these large corporations, and corporations will do what the government wants. They do abuse it. So that's another ongoing issue. Data control, threats, oppression, depending on what the government wants to share. The right to protest. So we talked about their rights increasing, and oh, and sometimes you'll see this nowadays in protests. There is suppression through fear, through force, etc.
You'll see that quite often, especially in areas where there's ongoing activity, like ICE going into cities. Due process and fair trial. You should have the right to have access to such. And in a fascism state, political opponents may be targeted, and that's not fair. And the court is weakened, and you'll see that more and more that the government favors people and puts their people in key positions, military, starting with um, his second term, Trump. He did different things. He fired all of the Army JAG officers because he didn't want somebody who would tell him no, and he wanted his own people who would always say yes instead of no. So the lawyers would have blocked that. So he fired all of the lawyers, and he went to different government agencies and organizations and had Office of Inspector General fire all of those individuals as well. Those are the people that had the ability to say no, and he fired them all. So that weakens the court system. It weakens the support system for citizens. Warrant and private property rights. You are required to have a legal warrant before a search can proceed. The government at the moment is ignoring that, and they're just going into homes and kidnapping people off the streets without any warrant for such arrest. It's not legal what they've been doing. The administrative warrant is not enough, but they're ignoring the court. And they do use surveillance technology. They have cameras to see where people go and have them followed. And they have kidnapped people without legal means, without legal rights. And people are just accepting that. That's the difference between a democracy and a fascist system. In a democracy, you choose and you have rights. In a fascist system, the government chooses for you. You have no rights. Next speaker. Hello, my name is Roy Fernandez, and I want to talk about why it's important to protect democracy and why the Bill of Rights helped us to save democracy. The Bill of Rights helps democracy by preserving and protecting groups and individuals to be able to have checks and balances, to check their power and have different opinions. It allows open discussion and criticism, and it prevents the government from overreach. Defending equal rights under the law and protects private rights and legal warrants. It encourages civic participation and voting. Without those protections, democracy can weaken over time. You see these different sides to compare. Democracy, your voice matters. With fascism, your voice is taken away. And the one-line summary, democracy's power is protecting its people. Fascist power protects one person. And it's important to know your history. History shows that democracy and society is slow moving compared to powerful leaders. When citizens stop participating, they do not participate in elections. They're afraid, they get wrong information. It's replaced by fascism. And independence is weakened. Leaders attempt to silence criticism or to take power. Can you go to the next slide, please? So my closing message, democracy is not automatic or permanent. It depends on the citizens to stay informed. Participation must be peaceful, respectful, and follow the Constitution, and to preserve freedom for everyone, even people who have different opinions. The Bill of Rights protects freedom, and it's a commitment that no government can become too powerful over the people. And it's just the simple truth. Democracy gives people voice. Fascism takes voice away. And now to understand the difference between democracy and fascism, it's very important to protect the Bill of Rights and to help our country have free, fair, and strong foundations for generations to come. Thank you. Okay, Michelle? Yes, hello. I'm going to turn off my camera. What did you say, Ursula? I'm going to turn off my camera and let you speak. Sure. Okay. I'm happy that you are all listening to what all of the speakers have said and discussed. The goal for this country, if you want to live free, have freedom of speech, have rights, have whatever, and not be oppressed, it's your responsibility. Democracy is not permanent or granted. We are responsible to keep maintaining it, to maintain our rights, our knowledge, our voice, our education and outreach from generation to generation. And the goal is to get people to register to vote. Each state has different registration rules before the election. So, for example, in my state of Pennsylvania, I have to be registered to vote, I think by April of the election year. I did go in and vote recently, and now Maryland will have an election, I think June 23rd. You would have to look at your guidelines where the deadline is for registration and to be able to decide when to vote and to prepare to go vote in our elections. We cannot just sit back and watch other people vote thinking that they're going to take care of it. We all have the responsibility to maintain democracy for the rest of our lives. Thank you for your time. Thank you for watching us. I'm going to let Ursula speak. How do I do this? Thank you. Where'd the interpreter go? There we go. Thank you for your presentation. Now it's an opportunity for questions. Are there any questions for any of the presenters? You can go camera on, or you can type in chat. Okay, I see one comment. Oh, okay. Talking about Spotlight. Thank you. We've taken care of that. Any other questions? So I do have a question. Why should we be concerned about this topic? Why is it important to us to know about it? Can Michelle, Kevin, or Roy respond? Okay. We should be concerned because we're seeing what's happened in other countries and governments become fascist and it impacts other countries that are near them because they want to steal their things or oil or whatever. So that starts wars. And we don't need wars for the personal benefit of people in government. We can do business instead of fighting. So that's one key reason we don't want more wars. Fascist governments also obviously suppress people in their own countries. And we've seen that happen in Italy. We've seen that happen in Germany. We see what's happening here in the United States today. And really, you need to make a decision yourself to vote and to step back. And, I understand that life goes on, but for the people that are being put in prison, life is not normal for them. For the people who are struggling to maintain peace in their communities, like Minneapolis, you can't. You have government suppressing their own people. Immigration. You need people to come to the United States who want to work, who want to build skills, who want to earn education. And we're denying that. And I don't think we benefit by throwing out people who have wonderful skills, who have good quality, good character. They came to America to build new lives, and we should be welcoming instead of kicking them out. So that's my answer. Thank you for that explanation. We're going to go ahead and switch interpreters. Kevin, can you stay spotlighted, please?
Okay. Kevin left us. However, I do see that we have a question in the chat. And the question is, what are some tips that you advise people to protect their rights during this time? Michelle, Kevin, Roy, does anyone want to answer that question? This is Michelle. Hello. Hello. Yes, I have an answer for that person's question. How? Fight back. Use your voice. Oh, Ursula, are you okay? Yeah, okay. So we need to maintain our fight, maintain our voices, use those, share those with other people, wake people up that fascism is a choice, that democracy is at risk. And if you want to keep democracy, register to vote, vote in your elections. That is that's where we need to shift if we want to maintain our democracy. If you don't do anything, if you think Congress will take care of it, if legislation will take care of it, if senators will take care of it, no, they can't. They need us. They need to hear our voices. They need to hear from the people. The signing of the Declaration of Independence, the first words are "We the people," correct? Democracy began there. Our founding fathers wanted us to use our voices to ensure our freedoms, the freedom to worship, the freedom to do versus having back when the British monarch continue to rule. George Washington was our very first president. He did not want a monarchy. He did not want to see autocracy. He wanted people to have democracy, the freedom of expression, the freedom to make changes, to make choices. And that is the difference that has impacted our lives. I guess I'm hoping I answered your question. Thank you. Okay. Okay, thank you for answering that question, Michelle. Um, if I could get the same person just asked another question. Most recently, there was a big hiccup in Maryland regarding mail-in ballots. Would someone clarify how in Maryland we can continue to ensure that we still have these rights to participate in Maryland election systems via mail? And they also wrote, I understand the Board of Elections will be sending out revised ballots in the near future. Could someone please clarify how it is in Maryland we can continue to ensure that we maintain our ability to vote in the Maryland election system? I can answer that. So I do work closely with the Maryland Board of Elections, and I'm currently working with them now. Um, and with the rights to vote and making sure that the integrity of the system for our voting. I'm staying connected and informed of the ballot. I am following the Board of Elections through their social media channels as well. Thank you for sharing that. So, are there any other questions before we move forward? Okay. Can you, can I either have Tanea or Diamond come up for part two in person about this topic that we'll be hosting in the fall in order to continue this discussion? I do want to clarify some awareness. And hold on, I just saw something come through in the chat. Someone said, I understand that Maryland just passed new laws on ICE agents. Do they require them to unmask, show their badges and warrants? Okay. I so sign up for next week, Tuesday. Law enforcement will be talking about masks. This is not in regards to ICE. This is officers of the state of Maryland. Diamond is our legislative liaison. Is there anything that I've missed that you'd like to add? Okay. Field Spotlight Diamond. Yeah, this is Diamond. I just wanted to clarify that the bill is a registered event. The bill signing for interpreter clarification, it's the bill signing event, and that is going to be at the Governor's State House. So the governor will be signing that bill preventing masks being used by law enforcement. So I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you, Diamond. I appreciate that. Okay, now I'm going to turn it. Oh, well, actually, let me back up. If this recording will be posted on the GODHH website for others to view. Thank you so much for sharing this important information. And yes, we will. We will be taking care of that. We do recognize um, the technology that we were used at the beginning. So yes, thank you for your patience. We do appreciate that as well. And we want to thank our Convo interpreters today. And I want to turn it over to Tanea. Thank you. Hi. Okay, hopefully you've all enjoyed watching the presentation today. We have an evaluation form that we'll be posting. And if you have any feedback, also, just to let you all know, we are going to have a second part of this discussion. I'm not sure when, but if you want to talk, uh, look at our website, our newsletter, social media posts, keep an eye on those places. If you haven't followed one of our social media pages, take advantage of this time. We're on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. We post a lot of our recordings onto YouTube, or Twitter X. Those are our social media platforms. We highly encourage you to fill out this evaluation form so that we can improve our presentations in the future as well. Are there any other questions, comments before GODHH before we wrap up this program? I see a question. Can we share your recording video onto social media with friends? Yes, of course, absolutely. We'll be posting it to YouTube after this session is complete. And then from there, you feel free to share it with your friends, family, those you know. And we'll also be posting it on social media. My teammate Diamond will be uploading the video there. Yeah, thank you for asking that question. And I see Kristen says she's looking forward to part two. Yes, I'm looking forward to it as well. All right. Any other comments, questions before we end the recording? There is one more question. And I would suggest that Maryland require to provide ASL interpreters for deaf people when ICE agents want to talk to them. Okay. Ursula. And then there's another follow-up. Need to make sure that people with disabilities have access to ICE agents. Ursula, can you address that question?
Uh, Thank you for your
Thank you for your comment. It seems more of a suggestion than a question. But I did see, I would say, so with that, Maryland providing ASL interpreters for when ICE agents want to speak with them. Need to make sure that people with disabilities have access to ICE and law enforcement. Thank you for that question, suggestion. We will revisit that. Okay, great. This is Tanea. Again, thank you everyone for joining us tonight. I truly appreciate it. I know it's Memorial Day weekend. Please enjoy your long weekends. Also remind everyone the ICE is run at the federal level, not state. So I want to make sure, and that was from Kristen. Yes, thank you to our interpreters. Can we share? We can share that with our state senators, share it with your state senators. Yes, thank you all so much. Thank you, interpreter. Thank you for everyone who joined us today. Thank you for the GODHH team and all the technical setup and webinar that we've been able to do today. We're going to stop the recording now.